All right, then. So now let's start discussing the break and continue statements. What is the usage of break and continue statements? So let me clean up the code and let me create the multi-line comment. And now what we are going to do, we are going to discuss about the break and continue statements. Break and continue. So basically in the C programming, the break and continue statements are used in the loops to control the flow of the program. They are used in the loops to control the flow of the program. So in that thing, the very first we are going to discuss about the break statement, right? So basically the break statement is used to exit the loop, just like the same way when we use the break statement in the switch. What happens? It will forcefully push the user or push the compiler to exit the switch statement. Just like the same way, the break statement will always helps you to exit the loop permanently, right? So when you encountered inside a loop, for instance, while or for or do or whatever it is, it immediately terminates the loop and the program execution continues with the next statement after the loop, right? So this is what happens when you're using the break statement. So now let's write a simple program to understand how the break statement will work. So here hash include stdio.h and int main, open it, int I, let's define the int I. So for I equals to 1, then I less than or equals to 10, then I plus plus, right? So what I'm trying to do is, if I value is equals to 5, which means it's reached that breaking point, printf breaking out of the loop. So breaking out of the loop at I equals to percentage %d slash in, then comma I. So we are just going to print it at what point that we are trying to break it out of the loop. So after this, I'm going to make it break. If not, this will keep on continuing doing this stuff. Current value of I is equals to percentage %d and add the slash n at the end, then comma I value. So after this, I'm just going to say return 0. So this loop will constantly printing the value from I and so on, 1, 2, 3, 4. But and inside the loop, I return one condition. Once the I value reaches the end value as 5, that means once it reaches the breaking point, I'm going to print this statement, breaking out of the loop at I equal to what the value is. And I'm going to add this break statement. So this will forcefully break this loop. All right. So now if I run this, you can see current value 1, 2, 3, 4, and at the once the I value is equals to 5, it's showing breaking out of the loop I equals to 5, right? So this is what happens when you're using the breaking statement. So the break statement, what does it do? It's used to exit the loop permanently. So that's what happened over here, right? So I hope you understand the break statement now much clearly. All right, so now let's jump to the continue statement. Continue statement. Continue statement. So basically in the C program, the continue statement is used to skip the rest of the loop, right? It's used to skip the rest of the loop body and move to the next iteration of the loop, right? So it often used to bypass the certain iteration based on the specific condition. That's the usage of the continue statement. So continue statements is used to skip the rest of the loop body and to move to the next iteration of the loop, right? So it is often used to bypass the certain iterations, iteration based on a specific condition, on a specific condition, right? So that's the usage of the continuous statement. All right, so now let's write a simple program to understand it how exactly it's working. So let's keep the same for loop over here. We don't want to delete that. So for, I'm going to open the for, right? So I'm going to start the I value from 1, and I'm going to keep I value I less than 10 and I plus plus. Open the loop, right? So I'm going to check if the I value is equals to 3. So at this point, I need to skip this iteration. So printf skipping the loop at I value equals to percentage %d, comma, I, and leave it as in the new line. And I'm just going to say continue, semicolon. If not, I'm just going to print the current value of the I. So let's say current value of I equals to percentage %d / n, comma, I value, semicolon. All right. And if everything is fine, it will be written 0, save the changes. Now, if you execute this, so here you can see this is the breaking point, which is for the break statement. From here we are starting current value. Okay, value, I think I misspelled it. Okay, I is equals to 1, 2, I equals to 2, and at the third, if the I value is equals to 3, we need to skip that part. So we are skipping at that particular location, and then we are continuing it from the next iteration. So this is how the continuous statements will work. So we are skipping at this point, and it simply skip that particular iteration and it's moving on to the next part. It's not executing this lines of code after this particular point, right? It simply skips these lines and it will move on to the next iteration of the loop. Instead of breaking it, it skips at that particular point and move on to the next iteration. So that's the advantage of having the continuous statement, right? So this is the difference between the break and the continuous statement. So will really helps you to understand, the simple example will helps you to understand the break and the continuous state.